everyone, welcome to our first show with Impulse Home Solutions. We are going to be covering all things real estate and investing for your financial freedom. I'm Julia and I'm with my husband here, Jimmy Gonzalez. And today we'll be interviewing our first guest, Peter McKernan, and hopefully he can provide some valuable information for you guys.
Now let's get on with the show. All right, Peter, welcome to our podcast. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you into real estate.
Yeah. Well, for one, thanks for having me on. Thanks for throwing out the invite. I truly appreciate it. And I'm glad to be on and chat with you guys. So getting into real estate, I really didn't start out after college, high school, I didn't jump into real estate at all. So what I did is I jumped into firefighting and I kind of hit the ground running with that when I got out of high school. And kind of really just went full in on that. Didn't even think about or even hear about real estate as an avenue to do anything until a little bit later into my 20s. And just focused on firefighting. And then once I finished up kind of the bulk of, what I needed to do, and then I got hired and full time at a department, I kind of got bored, and I got my degree at Long Beach State. After I finished up that degree, I got bored again, and I was like, what can I do? So I got my real estate license, and kind of this thought that I would, buy some deals, because at that time when I got my real estate license, I bought a couple of rentals in Redlands, which is just, hour east of where I live right now. And I was like, well, I can save some money. So I ended up getting my real estate license, and ultimately didn't buy a deal for a little while because I had a couple other things that I was doing with a real estate license, which ultimately was helping out some friends and family. And then, it flourished into growing a real estate business. And that's kind of, fast forward to where I'm at today, is still working full time as a fire captain, and also, selling real estate on the side. And I've been able to build up that business, ever since I got my license as well, which has been, super, super cool, super beneficial to work full time, and also be able to capitalize on helping out, those people that I work with, and also, friends and family, and build the business even further than that.
No, that's absolutely awesome. If anyone can relate, it's me, and I'm being a fireman myself. So congratulations on being a fire captain. How do you balance the work-life balance?
I don't. There's not really a balance. It's it's always doing one thing or the other, it seems like, and I'm super grateful. My wife is has helped me out a lot, just emotionally, being able to manage all these things. And, she's always there for me, always, willing to, have a conversation about maybe, something tough that's going on in real estate or firefighting or both, so she's been very supportive in that sense, and also supportive, on the back end of doing stuff, at our house and everything else. So it's been great. So to answer your question directly, I really don't, balance too well, but I feel like it's an ebbs and flows through both, through firefighting and real estate.
Right. Absolutely. Now I see that, being a firefighter and a real estate agent. So I hear that you've been doing some flips or some type of other investments type strategies. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you're doing there?
Yeah. So back when I bought those two rentals, we did kind of and this was before I met my wife. We did one, and when I say we, a buddy from high school, we bought one property. It literally didn't run the numbers, didn't do anything, just literally got lucky. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, on my first deal, I lost a ton of money, or, I had a super bad experience. No, we still own that property to today. It cash flows awesome. The same tenant that when we bought it back in 2013 is in there today. And we just signed another 3-year lease. So she's, basically, autopilot for that. Bought another one, did kind of like a long-term flip with that one. That one was, we owned it for basically 18 months, fixed it up, had it rented out for a year. And then ultimately, kind of was good to go after that year and a half, to the point that we were like, well, let's just sell it because we fixed it up. It looks good. The market's good. So we sold it, tried to 1031 exchange it, and into 5 deals in 5 single families in Texas. And that kind of fell apart because 5 turned into 1 good house, and that was it. So we kind of pulled out of that. And on the side, have flipped a couple of properties. I work with some investors and a developer out of Newport and Costa Mesa, and they do quite a bit of deals. So I'll either list them for them, I'll find some deals and wholesale them. And then currently right now looking for a couple of flips out in kind of the desert area to purchase to get some extra cash for more rentals. That's the biggest thing is like, I'm good for the short term on making more money, but at the same time, utilizing that money for long-term investments, because at the end of the day, you can't work forever, and it's nice to have that passive income, which a lot of people talk about.
No, wow. That's a lot.
I have
Right?
a question for people who are listening or maybe new to wanting to learn more about real estate investments. What is a 1031 exchange? Because I'm just chiming in and asking the stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're good. So 1031 exchange basically is where you can tax defer the proceeds from a property that's not your primary. So you can't do it with a primary residence. You can do it with a rental property. You can do it with a commercial property, industrial property, strip mall. It doesn't really matter, but you can basically take one property and then sell that one, and then you move that into another property, which is kind of safe haven for all your taxes. So you don't get hit with any type of capital gains or any type of sales tax that you would if you just sold a property outright and then didn't move it into something else. So you can't touch that money. It goes from one hand to another. And when I say one hand to another, it goes from you selling your property into a custodian that basically, it's not a normal escrow. They hold it. They're kind of like a quasi escrow. They hold the money so it never touches your account. So the IRS doesn't say, hey, all of a sudden, Jimmy, I can take that money from you. So they hold it until you find your other property, which you have 45 days to identify that property in, and then 180 days to close it. So going back to that, we basically found these people that were going to wholesale some deals off market. These investors were guys that were moving into multifamily. They want to get rid of all their single families. And we did inspections, within 1 day. We identified them within the 45-day period. And then ultimately, the day that we were out there for the inspections, like 3 of the tenants wouldn't allow us in. We found out that the tenants were uncooperative. Ultimately, they were not as great deals as they were, cracked up to be. And then we ended up pulling out of it.
Got it.
Oh, wow. Peter, you were mentioned, that you were working with a group of individuals, like as a team per se. Like, can you elaborate a little bit more on how the team functions?
Yeah. So for me, I'll just talk about real estate sales first, and then I'll talk about, the other investors. So real estate sales, I work with myself and then also have a full-time assistant, and that's the McKernan group. And then we also have a buyer's agent as well, and we're looking for another buyer's agent. So we work as a team to service any clients that we get that are looking to buy and sell homes. And then for investment purposes, I work with some investors that I just ultimately, get properties for off market potentially, or, end up selling properties for. So I'll run the numbers for them, and I'll see if it's something that's advantageous for them to purchase off market or even on market. And then from there, if we can make some deal work and it works out for their favor on buying at a certain price, fixing it up and then relisting it, then that's kind of my part with that relationship. So that's what I do for them.
Awesome. What would you say you enjoy about what you do with real estate investing?
Yeah, so it's it's something that's always challenged me a little bit differently than firefighting. And that's why I was so drawn to it. It challenges me in mentally, and firefighting does too, but this is a different arena of what it challenges me in. So I'm able to kind of think outside the box on certain deals, meet different people, and people of all backgrounds to see what they're doing. I just got off another interview with someone that does syndication, and that's something that I don't foresee myself doing in the near future at all. So it's interesting to talk to people about doing syndication and doing these repositions of big multifamily properties to doing commercial properties. So it just challenges me in a different way, and that's what I've always been intrigued about.
Okay, great. For our listeners listening in who are looking at getting into real estate investing, do you have any tricks or tips that you can give them some advice?
Yeah, I would say try everything, honestly. I would, and when I say everything, try quite a few things to see kind of what fits for you, because real estate obviously has a ton of different avenues that you can go down. You can go note investing, you can do multifamily, you can do single family. I would definitely try everything. And then at that point, figure out what those things are that, going back to what challenges me and what intrigues me, I found a couple of things that intrigued me and really challenged me. So I was able to go all in on that. And that's what they should do for sure, is be able to find something, one of two things, and kind of going back to what I talked about, passive income versus active, get some type of active income. So some type of income that's coming in that you can actually reposition that money into some long-term rentals and maybe some short-term rentals too, but you're going to have consistent income. So, try everything, and then take those, a couple of things that after you try 5 to 10 things, you can take those 2 things that you really enjoy and go all in on them.
Wow, Peter, thank you so much. Awesome. Where do you see the real estate industry within the next 1 to 5 years?
So obviously no one has a crystal ball, but I think with the real estate industry, especially now, where we've been over the last year and a half with COVID and, where the inflationary market is right now, and how the feds need to, combat that with, a higher interest rate. I think that, granted, if the interest rates go up to 5, 6 or 7%, then we'll see affordability go out the window. What I am a little concerned about is just that affordability. I think that's really the only thing that's going to push out, a lot of investors and a lot of people, is they just can't afford, the property values. I know a lot of people have talked about a ton of different things, from a market crash to, in real estate or anything else that ultimately will affect real estate. I'm not sure if we'll see a crash. However, I think that, in the real estate realm, we'll definitely see affordability be adjusted, and that's going to be a challenge for a lot of people.
Right. No, absolutely. All right. So this pushes us into our next tidal wave round. So this will be 4 questions, rapid fire, or tsunami, as you would say. So So what'd you say you do for fun?
I do a lot of real estate for fun.
That's fun. Really?
Yeah.
Come on, Peter.
That is good. Come on. Analyzing deals. Come on. Right. Look at a deal and you're like, no, other than that, try to travel as much as possible. Granted, the last year and a half wasn't conducive to that. However, travel as much, with my wife as possible. She has gotten into surfing, which ultimately has gotten me a little bit more into surfing, watching the competitive side of it. So I would say those 2 things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to get Jules surfing, and she had one bad accident, so she's a little hesitant.
Took one wipeout, and never again. No.
Well, if you take a bad wipeout, I could see how that would be, intimidating after you get out of that experience. You're like, should I continue on or should I try something else?
I'm gonna stick with paddleboarding.
Yeah,
well, that's good. That's good. That's more slow paced and not as big wipeouts.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we were at. Yeah,
go ahead. Babe. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're at Doheny at this place called Boneyards, and so she took a little wipeout. Wasn't much of a big deal, but then it was a bunch of kids, and there's like 10 kids that are like dodging her.
Yeah.
And then like wave after wave, and so she was like, "Dude, I don't know if I can do this."
Yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah. You're like, I can't do this.
The question I was going to ask was, does your wife work, or does she kind of like hold down the fort, take care of the kids? Because you have so much going on. I can imagine if she was working full time, it would be really hard to balance everything and stay connected as a couple.
Yeah. So she doesn't work. She does a lot of stuff, around the house, and then also helps. We have a rental right now that we're doing some construction on. So she actually kind of deals directly with the contractor and deals with getting materials and picking out that type of stuff. And that, if you saw what I do in any type of aesthetics with a household, you would not want me to be anywhere near that area. So, so she does great.
She's in charge of all the aesthetic things.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we do it too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
she picks it all out. I hang it.
There you go. Yeah. See, I could do that for sure. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. So, what would be your favorite book, like real estate book, business book, or if you even read it all?
Yeah. So I would say I got one right there. The referral. What is it? The referral machine. So that one's pretty good. And then The One Thing by Gary Keller is good as well.
Oh, I heard about that one. Yeah, that's one I want to get at.
Yeah, that one's
pick
good.
Up eventually. What about what would be your future goals? Like, why being a fire captain, being a real estate agent, and in investing? Like, what would be your goals? Like 5-10 year goals? Like, what are you doing all this for?
So the biggest thing is to grow the passive income, to be able to eventually at some point, not have to worry about, really anything in the sense of, the next time we go travel, have the passive income coming in. So if there was any a lost revenue or anything else, we would be able to mitigate that by the passive income. So my real goal is to build up the passive income in the long-term rentals as big as possible, and consistently building that active income, so that active income can contribute to more passive income. Because, at the end of the day, granted, I really enjoy real estate. Obviously, I said that's one of my hobbies, but at the same time, I want to be able to have that, later down the road, a little bit more of a life balance and spend more time, with my wife and the family and everything else. And I think that long-term, long-hold rentals are going to do that for us.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's what Julie and I are doing. We're focusing on short-term rental side, a little more active income, and then pushing that cash flow into multifamily real estate to where then now we can get some positive passive income, as we, grow further.
I actually want to expand on that question too, because I feel like Jimmy's such a positive, upbeat, outgoing person. And I think sometimes in the fire service, I'm not a firefighter. I don't know what it's like to live in a house with a bunch of guys half of my life. But I do notice that sometimes he'll come home and he'll talk about like negativity within the house, or just sometimes when you want to like explode with information to people who are not necessarily on the receiving end or might be negative about what you're doing. Like, how do you navigate around that? Do you just kind of like shut those people out and still focus on your goals? Or I think Jimmy just likes to talk to everybody about it, but not everybody is receiving it. Yeah, so I kind of take the back seat, and what I mean by that is obviously I don't really talk about it unless someone asks me about it, and ultimately, after doing it I've had my license since 2015. I really didn't get serious about selling till like a few years in. However, people have known for a long time, all the guys that I work with, that I've sold real estate, and I've been some part of me on my days off have been real estate. So I don't normally bring it up, and ultimately they'll ask me about it. So they know where to find you.
Yeah, they say, hey, I saw you on Instagram. I saw you post that house that you sold on Instagram, or I saw your story that showed you sold a house, or you're listing a house that's, expensive or something like that. And that's kind of how they come to me. That, I don't normally, come out and push it out. There's a guy actually that is somewhat of a mentor from far, and I've worked with him, closer, but he works as a fireman. He's also invested for a long time, and he's kind of the same way. And I feel like, granted, yeah, you need to talk about the stuff that you're doing, but at the same time, some people, like you just said, will be a little bit negative towards what you're doing or what your goals are, because their goals aren't meeting yours. And at the end of the day, you just kind of leave that noise to what they're doing, and really just kind of look past it and look above it, and then from moving forward, okay, hey, this person, I can't really talk to them about that because they're going to be negative about it, and that's not good for you and in your investing career either. So you kind of know those people too. So that's kind of how I combat it, is they come to me, and then the people that I do know that are negative about it, I don't really talk to them about it at all, even if they bring it up.
Got it.
Right. Good answer. All right. So what would you say your biggest learning experience is in real estate investing?
Oh, man. Do we have another couple hours?
I know there's a lot in there. I mean, if you could narrow it down to like one quick one, because a lot of people are like concerned on like, should I, like there's always going to be hurdles. But...
Yeah. I would say don't read into, people's judgments about the market, and the reason I say that is, granted, you want to be prepared. You want to also be, you want to make sure that you're well educated, but at the same time, there's a few years there where I didn't buy properties because I thought like there was a crash coming. I remember like 2015, 2016, a little bit of 2017 that like, everybody's like, don't buy any real estate. Don't do any real estate because we have a crash coming in 2017. And ultimately, if I look back and I bought a place in, 2015, it would be, significantly appreciated, and it would be cash flowing, and we would, have rents that are, through the roof, 15%, appreciation, which we haven't seen that, especially in rents, across the board in a very long time. So just make sure that you're doing your own education, and don't listen to somebody else that's maybe going to tell you like, hey, we're going to have a crash coming. Just make sure that you're running the numbers properly and it fits within a guideline and it's cash flowing.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Now, where can we get more information about you? How can our listeners get a hold of you, and so you can provide value for others?
Yeah. So I do a podcast. It's real estate trends and market updates. You can find it on, any platform that you listen. You can find me on Instagram at Peter McKernan, with an extra N at the end. And you can shoot me an email at peter@realtormck.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. Really appreciate it. Tremendous value, tons of notes here. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's great to finally see you, and glad you're doing so well.
Yeah. Thank you guys for allowing me to come on and ask me the questions you did. I think it was super valuable. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our show. And remember, it's not an impulse buy. Impulse is a desire to think and grow rich. Peace.